Hey guys, it's LBNinja7 back with another video. If you watched my other one, it's more of like a raid guide, and this is more of a Mythic Plus guide. So, but they're both how to play Venthyr Mistweaver Monk. I see it misplayed quite often, and just want you guys to maximize the potential of this busted class. I'll try to make this short. So let's just jump right into it. So this is going to be Venthyr Mistweaver Monk. Hopefully you know what Fallen Order does. If you don't, my other video, I deep dive into everything you should need to know. But now we're going to deep dive into everything specific to Mythic Plus. So first things first, before you start the key, my preferred food is obviously a feast. But then after that, I get crit food because crit synergizes so well with Fallen Order and the legendary that we use. And after that, I go with versatility because that also gives us more damage. It doesn't give us it doesn't synergize well, but it gives us more damage, which is always what you want in a healer, which is weird in Mythic Plus. And then if you feel you have good crit and verse, then you could go with haste. But other than that, I would never get mastery food. This is how I would do. And for your weapon, I like to do Shadow Core if it's tyrannical, and I like to do weapon enhancers like the shaded sharpening and shaded weight stones for fortified, because that, to me, that just feels the best. It gives me a little bit more damage when I do spinning crane kick, whereas I just do more boss damage with Shadow Core. But that's just a personal preference. You can use Embalmer's Oil, you can use whatever you want on your weapon, but that's just how I do it. It's not that much of a gain, but obviously we want to get every gain we can, and that's how I found to get that. So that's first, and also since we're Venthyr, we use Theatar as our soulbind. Make sure you have the T active, because like right here I have 3% intellect bonus just for free, so just make sure and do that before the key. Obviously in last video I said intellect over crit over verse haste, it stays the same. That's how you want your T to look. Okay, so that's just all the stuff. Really quickly get that out of the way before the key. Now let's talk about why Venthyr in keys. You see it in all the top keys. Everyone's running Venthyr. There's probably one Kyrian still sticking around. There's probably a couple ancient teachings in the monastery sticking around. But why do the top of the top play Venthyr? Simply put, it does similar healing. It honestly does similar healing to ancient teachings. But in Mythic Plus, it does similar healing, whereas in Raid it does, Venthyr's just obviously a better healing spec, just slightly to me, but it's just insane in Raid. But in Mythic Plus, it allows you to do more damage. Obviously, when you are Kyrian and use the ancient teachings of the monastery, you try to maximize your Rising Sun kicks. You do that in Raid too. But now that we're AoE in Mythic Plus, we fight a lot of mobs at once. We want to do spinning crane kicks more. I'll get more into the DPS rotation later. But Venthyr just allows you to use spinning crane kick, whereas ancient teaching of the monastery doesn't give you any bonuses or any healing for doing so. It gives you bigger AoE. And also, for the bigger keys, it allows, your ranged DPS, like your hunters, your mages, they can stand out in Narnia, because ancient teachings only has a 10-yard healing range. And there have been so many times where I'll have, like, a warlock just slowly die because they're out in West Africa. And I'm, healing everyone with my kicks with ancient teachings, and they're just getting no healing. So that's why Venthyr over ancient teachings in Mythic Plus, and by Venthyr I obviously mean the Venthyr Lego. And now I'll just quickly touch on the gear and the talents. This shouldn't take too long for the gear, but maybe for talents it might. For gear, you still want to maximize crit. That's it. It's that simple. After crit, well, I mean, obviously intellect's king, but then crit, and then after crit, you want to maximize verse and haste. And those are kind of even. I prefer verse a little bit more, but if you really like to just sit there and spam, then haste is fine too. There's nothing wrong with just pumping haste over verse, but Those two kind of sit in the middle, and then mastery is just very awkward. So you don't really use your mastery that often, and it doesn't pump your damages at all. So that's what I like. I also like speed. I mean, not speed. I also like leech. Yeah, that's gearing. It's that simple. You want to use this legendary. You can. I say that using it in your wrist is better, but I personally have mine in my ring because I got this insane wrist piece for mythic rating. So that's gear. It's just pump as much crit as you can. That's it. Now that gear's done, let's go into talents. And talents, you can use almost any talent in Mythic Plus. In Raid, you can still use any talent and be honestly just fine. But there are some that are better than others. This first row, I'll go row by row, but this first row, the best one for healing is Mist Wrap. Whereas the best one for big AoE is Chi Burst because it's uncapped now. It says healing reduced beyond 6 targets, but it's uncapped. It can go through any amount of enemies. And Chi Wave does, better in small packs. But it's honestly, I prefer Mist Wrap if I need a lot of healing, or Chi Burst if I have like a heavy physical group, because Chi Burst applies the monk debuff that makes your group do more physical damage. And it's honestly just the most fun. That's personally why I use it. It's just, to me, this ability is the most fun, but I will say Mist Wrap is slightly better because it synergizes with Fallen Order. Your Fallen Order monks, let me pull it up. Your Fallen Order monks will sit there and they'll spam Enveloping Mist, so Mist Wrap will extend those and buff those, basically. So that's why it's technically best, but it's pretty close. It's just that one's preference. All of these are honestly preference now that I'm looking at them, but this is kind of my playstyle. Tiger's Lust gets you out of roots, which there are so many roots like snares, any kind of that stuff, and it gives you a speed boost. It's for Mythic Plus, this one actually is best just because it gets you out of roots and can save your life so many times in a key. And this one, I still have this because I was just toying around with it. All of these just save your mana. So if you find that you're, pumping a lot of healing all at once, which in most cases you will, then Mana Tea is just the best because you can pop it before you use Yulon, before you have to spam mana abilities, you can just use Mana Tea. But Spirit of the Crane is kind of just like passive mana regen. And Life Cycle's just, it's weird. If you like it, this one's just preference. Mana Tea's the best technically because it can save you the most mana in a long run. But yeah, that one, just however you think you get the most mana back. This next row is your CC row. This one is very important for keys. Ring of Peace is just the best. Your tank will love you for taking Ring of Peace. It puts down a ring that just knocks enemies away. It straight up just knocks enemies away. And it'll just sit there and pulse them out. You can push an enemy into a wall and it'll constantly just get pushed into the wall and it won't cast. It's busted, but your tanks will love it because they can kite through it. They can stand on one side of the ring and all the ads will be pushed to the other side. It's great. Also, Tiger Tail Sweep is okay in some keys that you need stun specifically. Like, one that comes to my head is Mists of Tyrannosaith, because, you go from one pack that has that bucking charge to the next one that has the bucking charge, and you just need to stun, like, back-to-back, kind of. But that's very niche. That's not even better than Ring of Peace. I would still probably take Ring of Peace, just because your tank can kite through it, and that makes it kind of broken. This next row is your defensive. To be safe, you can take Dampen Harm. It just is a defensive. It does more versus bigger hits. But if you know what kinds of damage keys do, then take Diffuse Magic. Like, if you need a bunch of magical damage reduction, like in Sanguine Depths, the third boss, that's a lot of magic damage. You can take this talent. Healing Elixir is kind of a meme. It's worse than a Lockstone. It's just not very good. It's like an Expel Harm, basically. So I would pick between these based on whether you know it's magic damage that you're going to need this for. Now here we get to the controversial one. Summon Jade Serpent statue is not very good. I'm not even going to talk about it because I don't have much play experience with it because of how good these other two are. Refreshing Jade Wind, I'll still stand by this. I still personally use this in keys just because it's my preference, but you can choose either of these talents and be just fine. But Refreshing Jade Wind, you sit there and you pulse out healing to everyone around you, which I'll definitely take this when I have like full melee groups. But everyone very near to you, you'll pulse out healing, and it gives you a lot of opportunity for crits for just one global cooldown. It costs 8 seconds, or it lasts 8 seconds, and it'll give you on average like 13 pulses, 13 opportunities for crit. And it's honestly just very solid. But when you don't choose this one, you choose Invoke Chi-Ji, which it's technically best for keys. It's very good in keys. You lose Refreshing Jade Wind, but you get a slightly better cooldown in Chi-Ji over Yulon. Now, Chi-Ji is insane because of how much we'll be pressing Spinning Crane Kick, and this also, just like Fallen Order, kind of does passive healing while you do damage. And it's very good. I have a weak aura that I use, which you can just Google Chi-Ji weak aura and find one that you like, and it keeps track of the stacks. Every 3 blackout kicks, spinning crane kicks, or rising sun kicks, any time you do 3 of those, it knocks down your enveloping mist cooldown or cost and cast time. So let me just pop Chi-Ji. I'm gonna use Chi-Ji, and I want you to watch. You see this little bar right here? This bar fills up my stacks, and now watch me use Enveloping Mist, which is normally a long channel. It's instant, and I consume those 3 stacks, and it's very good. So you can just spam spinning crane kicks, and every 3 spinning crane kicks you can, get a free Enveloping Mist, which Enveloping Mist does a ton of healing, especially if you're using Mist Wrap. And on single target, you just want to, maybe I could pull an ad. Let's see. Let's pull this ad. Oh my god, I forgot I have my keybind for taunt different. Okay, well, for a single target, you'll want to punch Tiger Palm twice. Can I pull you? How do I pull you? Do I have crackling? This is embarrassing. If I had a producer, I'd tell him to cut. But yeah, you want to Tiger Punch or Tiger Palm twice to stack up 2 extra blackout kicks, and then you'll click blackout kick once and get 3 because of your Ancient Teachings passive. So you'll get 3 blackout kicks all at once, give you 3 Chi-Ji stacks all at once, and that's how you use Chi-Ji in single target. But I'm stupid and I just can't show you. Y'all are probably staring right at my crackling jade lightning, but it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. That's Chi-Ji for you. And finally, the last row of talents, Rising Mist. This is just, to me, this is the only one that I would take. Your Rising Sun Kick just heals everyone that you have a hot on, and it extends those hots. So it's just great. It's a ton of throughput, ton of healing. Upwelling's weird, very weird. I just don't like it. I don't like this whole like essence font, like all these. I just don't like them. But Focus Thunder used to be pretty good, honestly, when you were using the old legendary, but it's just not as good now, because you could get like 2, back to back Rising Sun kicks. But yeah, I'm not a fan. Okay, so that's talents. Now the DPS rotation. Very, very simple. When you have Fallen Order out and there are 3 or more targets, spinning crane kick. That's it. 3 or more targets and you have Fallen Order out. Or, I mean, even if you don't have Fallen Order out and everyone's topped up, just spinning crane kick. If you have Chi-Ji or Fallen Order out, just spinning crane kick. All the time. Single target to 2 targets, you want to do your single target rotation, which is in my last video. It's basically just trying to maximize how many Rising Sun Kicks you get. So Rising Sun Kick, Blackout kicks to reset that cooldown, Rising Sun kick again. You want to Thunder Focus to your Rising Sun kicks. That's your single target to 2 target rotation. But anything else, if you do a big pull, you want a Spinning Crane Kick. Now, as you know, the Spinning Crane Kick just got off of the target cap. What this means is, let me pull some enemies. What this means is every pulse of the Spinning Crane Kick has a chance to crit. But it only one pulse, or only one crit per pulse will count towards the time reduction. So if you watch the numbers, see those 600s are my crits, okay? So you see how it pulses like pulse, 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 pulse. Each of those times that I said pulse is only one opportunity. It's not 4 because I have 4. If I were to crit these 4 adds with the same Spinning Crane Kick every pulse, it wouldn't just completely obliterate the cooldown of Fallen Order. It does 5 per crit per pulse, if that makes sense. So that's Spinning Crane Kick. Since it's off the cooldown, the target cap now, it gets even better because you get even more chances on big pools of getting a crit every single pulse. It's just great. That's as simple as the DPS rotation can get. I'll use Fallen Order. They will do all the healing for me. The Fallen Order monks, they'll do all the healing for me, basically. And I can just sit back and Spinning Crane Kick. These guys are definitely going to kill me because they're elites. But I'm going to Fallen Order and just Spinning Crane Kick. And you'll just see me, I'm full health because I'm just getting passively healed while I do damage. And this is how you get the big damage numbers as a monk. Not quite Venthyr Paladin levels, but you'll get some pretty big damage numbers. Okay, I'm going to get out of here before I die. That's as easy as Mythic Plus is now with the Venthyr Legendary. Just Spinning Crane Kick all day. All day, all day, all day. Okay, that's DPS, single target, multi-target. Now, I want to touch on when can you clutch heal? And by clutch heal, I mean use your Life Cocoon and use your Vivifies. I would never sit there and channel an Enveloping Mist. It's just too long of a channel to clutch heal. But as you know, anyone that you have your Renewing Mist on, if you Vivify someone else, it'll also Vivify them. So this is your primary way to heal your party when you don't have Fallen Order or Chi-Chi up, or Yu'lon. Now that I just mentioned Yu'lon, I just want to quickly say, if you do use Refreshing Jadewind and use Yu'lon for keys, go back and watch my raid guide, and I touch on Yu'lon and how to use Yu'lon in that guide. I just wanted to give Chi-Chi a touch in this video, because it's slightly better here and Yu'lon's slightly better there. But go back and watch my other guide and just skip to the Yu'lon part if you need it. Also, Yu'lon is such a weird ability, I could even make its own video. Let me know down in the comments. Yes, okay. If you want to see that. So clutch healing is totally fine if you don't have Fallen Order out, or if you do and somehow like your group is taking so much damage or someone's just getting nuked. Just hopefully you have your Renewing Mists out on a couple people. Hopefully you have like 4 Renewing Mists out. 2, 3, 4 out on your group. Then you just want to channel Soothing Mist and just spam Vivifies. You could even channel Soothing Mist, Enveloping Mist, because it's very quick cooldown when you channel it. When you channel Soothing Mist, you can just sit there and click it and it's instant. And then start Vivifying. So that's kind of how I clutch heal. I have my Enveloping Mist out, or my Renewing Mist out on someone, and then on someone else that's low, I'll channel my Soothing Mist and then just spam Vivify. It's always okay to do this, but know that you will use your mana when you do this. All of your like solely healing abilities use a ton of mana. So just make sure you use Mana Tea when you do that if you're running that. Or just take note of your mana. So that is how you clutch heal when you need it, or that's also how you're supposed to heal when you don't have Fallen Order or Chi-Chi up. So that's your healing. Just Renewing Mist out on as many people as you can. Use your Rising Sun kicks to extend those. Essence Fawn on cooldown. If you're running Refreshing Jadewind on cooldown, and then just spam Vivifies. That's your healing. Now, that's not going to come up as much because of how many cooldowns you have. You have whichever crane you're running. If you have Chi-Ji, you have Chi-Ji plus Fallen Order and Revival. That's a ton of cooldowns. If you're running Yu'lon, you have Yu'lon, Fallen Order, and Revival. That's 3 massive cooldowns. So you have a ton of cooldowns, so you shouldn't ever be called out like that, but I just want to mention that just in case. Just remember you have Vivify. But now I want to talk about cooldown management. In Raid, you have 3 other healers. 3 to 4 other healers. You have a bunch of other healers. So how you coordinate cooldowns is you know, as the monk, you'll put all of your, cooldowns, maybe but one, but you'll stack your cooldowns on top of each other. You'll use Chi-Ji plus Fallen Order or Revival plus Fallen Order. Or you'll just, use Fallen Order every time it's off cooldown, basically, and then, stack Revival plus your Crane. You just stack all of your cooldowns because you know that you have other healers to fill in the gaps. But here in Mythic Plus, you don't. So I like to, whenever I come up to an AoE pack, I like to first use Fallen Order. If it's up, that will be the cooldown that I use this pool. If Fallen Order is down for, 20 seconds, then I'll use Chi-Ji because it's our next best cooldown in Mythic Plus. If both of those are down, then I'll try to hold it out, and then I'll use Revival. Revival loses a lot of value in Mythic Plus because you aren't healing the whole raid. But that's my order. Is I always use Fallen Order if it's up on a pack. If it's down, or if I don't need to heal that much, then I'll use Chi-Ji or Yu'lon, whichever one you're using. And then I try to save Revival for clutch situations or Mass Dispel. Mostly is when I use Revival and keys. But yeah, you don't want to stack your cooldowns all in one pack and then get to the next pack and do nothing. You're not a bear tank. Bear tanks will incarn one massive pool and then just, die to the next pool. You want to really stagger your cooldowns. This is especially important versus bosses. Let's say you're coming up to a boss and you have all 3 of your major cooldowns off cooldown. You're ready with all of them. The first one you want to use, it's the same order. The first one you want to use is Fallen Order because you're likely to get that down to a minute or less cooldown because of the legendary. And then you want to use Chi-Ji. And then once Chi-Ji's off cooldown, then you can use Fallen Order again, basically. And then save Revival for when necessary. That's how to manage your cooldowns. That's one issue that I see so much, is people will just use all their cooldowns in one pool and then the group wipes, and it's just horrible. Other than that, that's basically it. The only difference between Raid and this is the talents you take and your DPS rotation, which it's literally as simple as spinning Crane Kick on 3 or more targets and then do your same single target rotation on 2 or less targets. I hope someone got something out of this video. If you still want more of my content, there is so much more to come. Just let me know in the comments. If you want a raid guide or anything you need to know about Mistweaver that I didn't touch on in this video, go back, watch my other video, and like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll see you next time. Thank you.